You know that feeling? The one where you feel like you're running as fast as you possibly can, but you're just staying in the exact same place. It's a feeling a lot of us know, and it's right at the heart of this old story. A story about a competition, a choice, and really two totally different ways to live your life. So let's get into it.
Okay, so picture this. You've got two expert woodcutters, a huge forest, and a race that's going to last all day long. One of them just goes for it. No breaks, sweat pouring down, just relentless chopping. But the other guy, he stops for 15 minutes every single hour. So who do you think won? I mean, the answer seems pretty obvious, right? But there's a twist. And that twist reveals something really profound about how we tackle not just our work, but our whole lives.
But here's the thing. This story isn't really about chopping wood. It's about two different ways of being, two archetypes that honestly live inside all of us. On one side, you have the woodcutter. This is the part of us that's all about relentless action, that constant need to just do something. And on the other side, you've got the shepherd. The shepherd is all about wise guidance, about having a real sense of direction and purpose. It's the difference between just swinging the axe and actually knowing where the flock is headed.
All right, so first, let's really dive into the world of the woodcutter. And I think this is a world many of us are going to recognize immediately. It's a world defined by this constant, nagging pressure to perform, to achieve, and to, well, never, ever stop.
So what's actually driving this woodcutter? Well, if you look at the psychology behind it, it's what Carol Dweck from Stanford calls a fixed mindset. Basically, it's the belief that your talents, your intelligence, they're fixed. You've got what you've got, and that's it. And if you believe that, then success is all about proving how much talent you have. You can't afford to stop. Every single second you're not chopping, you feel like you're falling behind, like your fixed abilities might not be enough.
And this mindset, it shows up all over our culture. The author David Brooks has a great way of describing it. He calls it Adam the First. This is, the part of us that's totally focused on building that impressive resume. The motto is simple, success. And the logic is pretty straightforward too. You put in the work, you get the reward. It's all about chasing those external accomplishments, the things that are going to impress everybody else.
And let's be real, our modern world is practically screaming at us to be woodcutters. I mean, we're living in what Thomas Friedman calls the age of acceleration, where everything is changing so fast that just keeping up feels like a full-time job in itself. On top of that, we're dealing with what's called the Rashomon effect, this feeling that there's no single reliable story or truth to guide us anymore. All this information overload, it just pushes us to skim the surface of everything. It can feel like the only sane thing to do is to just put your head down and keep chopping.
But there is another way, and that's the way of the shepherd. Now, this isn't about not taking action, not at all. It's about grounding that action in something deeper, in purpose, in wisdom, in that sense of direction that the woodcutter is totally missing. See, the shepherd comes from a completely different place, a growth mindset. This is the game-changing belief that your abilities aren't set in stone. They can be grown, nurtured, and developed. And here's the really crucial part. A growth mindset completely reframes what failure is. It's not some final judgment on who you are. No way. It's an essential opportunity to learn. That right there is the foundation for real resilience and long-term growth.
There's this fantastic old dervish parable that just nails this idea. Imagine a fisherman casts his net. The first fish, the wise one, has the foresight to see what's happening, plays dead, and gets thrown right back in. The second fish, the half-wise one, sees the net closing and leaps out just in the nick of time. But the third fish, the foolish one, it's just trapped, unable to think or act, and it gets caught. The shepherd is that wise fish. They have the foresight to see the bigger picture, beyond just the immediate panic.
And what's so cool is that this ancient wisdom is totally backed up by modern psychology. This is where it gets really fascinating for me. A researcher named Angela Duckworth calls this quality grit. And it's not just about pushing through. It's passion and perseverance together focused on long-term goals. That grit is what lets the shepherd keep going, because they know that a setback isn't the end. They get that failure is not a permanent condition. So really, when you boil it all down, we're looking at two fundamentally different ways to go through life. You've got the woodcutter's path, that's Adam the First, resume virtues, a fixed mindset, and that endless chase for external success. Then you've got the shepherd's path, that's Adam the Second, focused on what David Brooks calls eulogy virtues. The things people will say about you at your funeral, your character. It's about a growth mindset and pursuing things like charity, love, and redemption.
Okay, so we get the two paths, we see the difference. Now for the big question, the really important part. How do we actually become more like the shepherd? Well, let's go back to that original story. The winner, the one who took the breaks, he revealed his secret.
He said, "I wasn't taking a break. I was sharpening my axe." So let's figure out what that really means.
So sharpening the axe, that's the whole key, the central metaphor here. And it's so important to get this. It's not just about taking a rest. It is the deliberate, intentional practice of stepping back from all the chopping, all the busyness, so you can cultivate those inner qualities, the virtues that actually make your actions effective and meaningful in the first place. You could call it the work behind the work.
All right, so how do we actually do this? Well, first, we've got to cultivate some intellectual humility. That's just a simple but really powerful idea of admitting that you don't know what you don't know. And once you admit that, it pushes you to actively seek out the truth, not just stuff that confirms what you already believe. It means listening to all perspectives. Then there's this big paradox you have to embrace. To really find yourself, you have to kind of lose yourself in service to something bigger than you. And finally, it's about action. It's about moving beyond just talking about your values and actually putting them into practice through service and social justice.
And man, this quote from John Stuart Mill just perfectly captures this whole idea of sharpening your axe. He basically said that no wise person ever got wise by themselves. Wisdom isn't found by just defending what you already think. Nope, it's forged in the fire of hearing what everyone else has to say. People with every kind of opinion, especially the ones you disagree with. Now that is what intellectual sharpening is all about.
So we've looked at these two paths, these two mindsets. Let's bring it all back home, back to the race that every single one of us is running. People always say life is a journey, right? Well, that journey needs two things. The endurance to keep going, for sure, but also the wisdom to know you're actually heading in the right direction.
There's this ancient passage that talks about running with perseverance the race marked out for us. And I think that's such a powerful image. It reminds us that we're part of this long, ongoing story, surrounded by all the examples of people who came before us. So the question isn't just, can you endure? It's, what is your direction? What is your purpose within this race?
And that's the thing. At every key moment in our lives, we're standing at a kind of threshold, and we have a choice to make. We can choose the woodcutter's path, just relentless, unexamined action, driven by all the pressure from the outside world. Or we can choose the shepherd's way, the wisdom to actually pause, to reflect, and to sharpen the very purpose that drives everything we do.
So in the end, it really just comes down to this. The race is yours. It's marked out for you. The question is, how are you going to run it? Are you going to spend all your time and all your energy just chopping wood, hoping that pure brute force effort is going to be enough? Or will you learn the wisdom of the shepherd and take the time to sharpen your axe? The choice, as they say, is yours.